First conference of the Łódzkie macroregion, Microorganisms in Environment Revitalization, the practice. Beneficial microorganisms in agriculture. Probiomicroorganisms, colloquially about preparations containing beneficial probiotic microorganisms. A proper composition of microorganisms in the soil determines its strength. What does it mean? It means that the soil needs less additional substances, less fertilizing, if it contains the proper amount of organic compounds, if humidification runs properly. But this process runs only when organic matter is actually broken down, when the process is run by beneficial microorganisms. Years ago, I haven't suspected that Mother Nature has so many ready-made solutions that can interest me as a farmer so much. Probiomicroorganisms, a group of products manufactured in a process of fermentation of natural plant and mineral components with aerobic and anaerobic beneficial microorganisms based on SCD probiotic technology. Universal benefits of probiomicroorganisms result from the microorganisms selection. Microorganisms in proper compositions are supporting each other. Through produced substances, they can limit or eliminate the dominance of pathogenic microflora. They initiate processes for the health of the soil, plants, animals, and people. In different programs on TV, different publications, we can see what a big harm the pathogenic microorganisms can do. We are informed about epidemics affecting the world, while we talk so little about the good occurrences with microorganisms. And it is their presence that determines our lives. We are totally not aware of it. We take pills, different chemical substances, chemical fertilizers, and we do not see how nature is reacting to them. We forget that nature, in a healthy ecosystem, can eliminate a lot of pests and diseases. But remember, this happens only in a healthy ecosystem. So the essence of a farmer's job should be to care for a healthy ecosystem. Just like he cares for an order in his homestead, he should care for order in the soil. And this order in the soil is simply life in soil, the biodiversity. The more life in the soil, the healthier it is. The usage of probiotics doesn't require either a waiting period or prevention. Probiotics are safe for human life, plants and animals. A cherry orchard after application of the probiomicroorganisms. Everything went into the soil, and what have I observed after application of the probiomicroorganisms? After many sprayings conducted also with a hose, although it rains all the time, the soil is still loose. A real farmer knows that when he makes a ball from the soil, it should disintegrate, despite high water content. That is exactly what I have observed after applying the probiomicroorganisms to the soil. First, probiomicroorganisms were used on raspberries, and they are still used there now. We covered raspberries with fabric. There was no other option because of the drought. Here is a place where the probiomicroorganisms were used, and the difference is clearly visible. You can see that the microorganisms are working. Last year, probiomicroorganisms were used twice, and I can see that the condition of raspberries is much better than when we used chemicals. What about sprout decay? There isn't any. There isn't any, and there are also no green flies. I noticed that this year, after the application of the probiomicroorganisms into the soil, there is a huge difference. Most of all, the plantation is uniform, and that is important.
Wyrównana, przede wszystkim wyrównana, prawda? I to jest ważne.
It is a wonderful feeling when you're walking on the grass, this soil where the microorganisms are already being used, and the ground is just soft, friable, springy. It is totally different. Even after a heavy rain, when uprooting weeds, the soil is disintegrating. Here, for example, there is a variety very susceptible to scab, and I have used probiotic-microorganisms alternately. Scab is on leaves, but not on fruit. Here we have strong germ, and it is already active, but there isn't any on fruit.
No, było traktowane to w sobotę, bodajże plus piątka do tego.
Here we have greenfly. We deliberately allowed such state to occur, just to see the results. Please take a look. We didn't use any chemicals, there are no flies. It is very important, because it is not a problem to make something in a place where everything is okay. Sometimes you have to mess up just to know how to fix it. Here is a plum infected with the so-called silver leaf. That is why they are grubbed. It is also our research. They have been treated with probiotic-microorganisms 4 times. Now you can see that silver leaf seems to be withdrawing. I have noticed that decay is present, but the fungus pathogen doesn't attack the other fruit. For me, it was totally unexpected that you can fight noble rot. That noble rot in berries and grapes, a very common infection, can be limited or even eliminated by the presence of beneficial microflora, not by additional chemical treatment. You can obtain it without chemicals. Today, the world is facing a big problem, that are molds and fungi. Working with beneficial microorganisms for several years, I see their influence on the environment. By using chemical substances and products, we support the growth of fungi. They are no good for us, or for the plants, or for the animals. I used to have problems with calves because of diarrhea. From the moment that the probiotic microorganisms were added to the water for cattle, the problem of diarrhea had disappeared. Before, because of diarrhea, calves were even dying. I do not dose probiotic microorganisms precisely like pharmacists do. I add them to the water, and once a week I give them to the animals. Cattle is in better shape, they calve better, and are born healthier. What rejection do we have? This year we don't have any. I used to use antibiotics on piglets to prevent diarrhea in early life. I gave up on antibiotics and started using probiotic microorganisms, and the result is good. Admittedly, diarrhea hasn't ceased completely, but in 90% of the cases. In animal husbandry, there's a lot of wounds. For example, pigs fret their tails. But after using probiotic microorganisms, everything is healing very nicely. None of our beehives had nosomosis.